John Lennon, Paul McCartney, and George Harrison collaborated with a different drummer prior to Ringo Starr joining the Beatles. When the Beatles performed in Hamburg, Pete Best took a trip to Germany with them. However, Best was never the beneficiary of the band's widespread success. McCartney said it was one of the hardest things they had ever had to do, but they let him go just before they made a big splash. The Beatles tried out for producer George Martin in 1962. Martin thought the band had potential, but he didn't think Best would help them move forward. He suggested that they look into getting a new drummer. According to McCartney in the Beatles Anthology, he agreed to audition us, and we had a not very powerful audition in which he was not very pleased with Pete Best. Because every big band session drummer George Martin employed had an excellent sense of timing, he was accustomed to drummers being extremely in time. Our Liverpool drummers have spirit, emotion, and even economy, but they lacked a lethal sense of timing. This would irritate record producers. George pulled us aside and expressed his displeasure with the drummer. "Do you think you could change him?" McCartney stated that they didn't want to fire Best in order to betray him. They continued to worry that this might be their only opportunity to land a record deal. They concluded it would be better to look for a new partner. "How we dumped Pete was a big deal at the time," McCartney remarked. "And I do feel bad for him because of what he might have known. But from our perspective, it was solely a business decision. There would be no other option if he didn't meet the standards. It was still really challenging, though. It's among the hardest things we've ever had to do." Unlike McCartney, Lennon didn't appear to be as sad about firing Best. He claimed that because Best lacked the other band members' fast thinking, he had never blended in properly. Nevertheless, he felt bad about the way they let him go. They had their manager, Brian Epstein, let him go instead of talking to him as a group. Best was never able to discuss it with his bandmates. According to Hunter Davies' The Beatles, the authorized biography, John Lennon stated, "We were cowards when we sacked him. We forced Brian to do it. However, it would have been far more disgusting if we had told Pete to his face instead of having Brian do it. If we had told him, we most likely would have ended up in a fight." Promoter Sam Leach reminisced. He replied, "Pete might give us a smack," when I inquired why. Leach remarked, "I knew Pete wouldn't do anything. He's a gentle guy." And Pete simply bowed his head as they passed each other in the hallway. And I had a bad feeling.